sixth graders. I'm teaching out on my porch today. Today we're going to be talking about James Rizzi. So James Rizzi is an artist who creates these really wacky drawings of buildings with faces. So let's go through his work a little bit. Welcome to the wacky and wonderful world of James Rizzi. Some elements about his work that really stand out to me are the strange cartoon faces on his work, the background where we see the sky, all the objects, the sun and the moon that you see. Sometimes he puts aliens, sometimes he puts clouds, sometimes he puts stars. That is what stands out to me about the work of James Rizzi. He uses a lot of bright colors, and he is a pop artist. A pop artist makes art about everyday objects, so James Rizzi would fall into that category. Pop artists also usually use bright colors. I want you to take a look at these pictures in the slides provided and talk to me about what you see, think, and wonder. Pull it up right now and we'll do it together. What I see, think, and wonder, I see bright colors, I see strange faces, I see cars, I see fences. I think that this picture is very visually overwhelming. There's so much going on that I don't know where to look. I wonder if these people know that there are aliens flying above and if we are witnessing an alien abduction. So our objective for this week is to look at the style of James Rizzi and draw inspiration for landscape drawing. So we are going to be looking at James Rizzi's work in order to create a landscape drawing or a cityscape drawing where there are buildings and they are lined up overlapping each other. That's something that happens in his work a lot, is that the different shapes overlap each other, meaning there are shapes in the front, there are shapes in the back, so they're not just all in a row like this, they're like this. So that is what we are going to be doing. We are going to be creating our own James Rizzi cityscape. So I did include a virtual art tour gallery of James Rizzi's work that somebody created online. Check it out. It's really awesome. Online art galleries are a wonderful opportunity that are going on right now. In this tour, you can see a lot of his work beyond just his landscapes and really get a feel for what kind of symbols and objects are what let us know we're looking at James Rizzi's work. It really shows you what his style is and how you can recognize his work. So for a warm-up, I want you to try to draw yourself as a James Rizzi building. This is always a lot of fun for us to do in our sketchbooks together, so I encourage you to do that. Look at the faces and pick a face that looks like you. Make yourself into a James Rizzi building. You're going to try to include that on your final. So when you're drawing your final cityscape, I want you to include a city that looks just like you. So here's some different faces from James Rizzi's work, a lot of interesting lips and teeth and surprise faces. Now we're going to talk about Rizzi House, the happiest house in the world. This is a house in the middle of the city, and it's among a lot of old buildings. It's this bright, happy house that is based off of James Rizzi's buildings. It's pretty amazing. So you won't be able to see it too well since we're on a bad quality video here, but you can check it out on my slides. So they call that the happiest house in the world. So something else I wanted to talk to you a little bit about is pareidolia. So pareidolia is when you look at a building and you see a face in it. So I want you to be on the lookout for examples of this. I think it's really interesting to think about when we're creating buildings, that most buildings don't have faces on them like James Rizzi. But if you're looking at buildings all the time, you might see a building that looks like it has a face on it. And that is what we call pareidolia. There are other places you might see that, like on a doorknob, or looking at a car and thinking that it looks like a person, things like that. So be on the lookout for where you can see faces and objects this week. Here's some examples. So check those out for sure. Okay, another exercise you can do is to try to turn Shady Grove into a James Rizzi building. So I put a picture of our school, and I put some faces so that you can do that as an activity as well. So our weekly assignment is going to be to create a landscape drawing based off the work of James Rizzi. So make sure to include buildings with faces in the front. That's what we call the foreground. Right now I'm sitting in front of a table. And I'm here. Behind me there is a brick wall. I am the foreground. The brick wall is the background. That's what I mean by foreground and background. So make sure to include faces on your buildings, and in the background, I want you to include the sky or different colors and different symbols that is based off of James Rizzi's work. So I provided an example that you can check out of what I'm looking for. So foreground in this picture is the buildings, background is the place where there's a bird, stars, and the sun and the moon. I've included photos of my process. I would like for you to color it in if you have colors. If not, you need to shade it in. I included a black and white picture so that you can see what shading it in would look like. So here's your criteria for success. I want you to make sure it's fully colored in or shaded. I want you to make sure there are James Rizzi inspired symbols and faces. Make sure there are faces on all of your buildings, and make sure you're using foreground and background. I've included several student examples from last semester that I was really impressed by. So make sure to check those out. If you have any questions, let me know. Bye!